Welcome to Right Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 74, Add a Little Murder, an interview with Patricia Bradley, coming to you on Thursday, June 7th, 2018. Boy, did I just now have fun interviewing Patricia. It was a great conversation. So many great things to talk about as a reader of her books, listening to how she does things, and then applying it as a writer and thinking, oh, I should try that. Oh, that's how you do it. Oh, I'm going to try that. That sounds fun. So I am all set to go and murder some characters. I'm definitely going to work on that this week. I think it'll be fun and cathartic. I hope that you find this equally fun. It's a great interview. I think you're going to really enjoy it. And, there's lots of little helpful tips. Plus, let me just remind you, there's always any links that anybody mentions, I always put in the show notes so that you can just click over and check out everything. And Patricia gave us several links, great blogs to check into if you're doing romantic suspense, murder mysteries, crime, anything like that. It sounded like a lot of stuff that I want to go check out because, that's really what I have time to do is go read 14 blogs when I'm still in the midst of this whole moving to another country thing. But actually, it does sound like a good use of my time. So I hope that you check them out. Remember, show notes are always available at podcasts.rightnowworkshop.com. And then just go over to episodes and scroll down. This one is episode 74. So there should be several great links. Also, Patricia's book just came out on Tuesday of this week. So you definitely are going to want to check out the book and also all the places that she blogs, because she was talking about different places where there are contests to win books and other sorts of things. So definitely something that you might want to follow her up on and see what kinds of fun things that she's talking about on her blog and the other blogs that she's a guest on. And one other little note that I wanted to tell you, for anybody who's watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to the audio and you're suddenly thinking, boy, this audio quality sounds different, weird, not as good. My microphone just totally died and I don't know what happened to it. And so now I'm afraid to use it because I don't want to be recording an interview and all of a sudden find that there is no sound. And as it turns out, it is, of course, the first week of June. So I shouldn't have been surprised to find that the school across the street from our apartment is having a massive big graduation ceremony. And the way that they do things here is very loud and very celebratory, which is great. But then I had to hurry and move away from the front of the building and try to get here. So I'm in my bedroom that I was trying to make look not too bad. So the light is not so great, and hopefully that won't bother you at all. You don't need to be looking at me. Just watch Patricia if you're watching on YouTube. She's fun to talk to. You're going to enjoy this episode. I can't wait to hear what you think. If you try something new or something that she suggests, leave a comment. Let us know what you're thinking, what you got out of it. And check out the new book, Justice Betrayed. I just finished it a couple days ago, and it was really interesting. It took me a long time to even narrow down the people that I thought maybe was the one who done it. And then I was wrong, which is great. I love being wrong instead of being like, yeah, I figured that out 75 pages ago, right? So check out the book. It was really fun to read. And now, here we go with the interview with Patricia Bradley. Today's guest is Patricia Bradley. Patricia is the multi-award-winning author of her new book, Justice Betrayed, book 3 in the Memphis Cold Case series, as well as the author of the Logan Point series. She is co-founder of Aiming for Healthy Families Incorporated, and she is a member of American Christian Fiction Writers and Romance Writers of America. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm excited to have somebody on the show talking about murder.
I love to talk murder. It's just fun. You kill all of your anxieties, your people that have crossed you. You can just do a lot with that.
You've got me thinking now. People who listen to my podcast regularly know that I've been struggling with some stuff. And maybe I should just start killing people in my books. Get it out.
It's very, very, very relieving.
Nice.
I have to be careful with my hands.
Yeah. Well, so I have to admit, one of the things that I did at first when you and I started connecting is I went to your website, of course. That's what a lot of people do. And let me just say it. Is it ptbradley.com? Yep.
That's the easiest.
Okay.
There's a couple of ways to get there, but that's the easiest.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, when we get to the end, you can remind everybody again.
Okay.
And I love your tagline at the top. It looks all nice and sweet, where love and faith cross paths. And then it's ellipsis with murder.
Right. People look at me or who know me and they say, I cannot believe that you kill people in your books.
Yeah.
I said, be careful, don't make me mad.
So tell us, how did you get started? I mean, I look at you, for anybody who's watching on the YouTube version, you're just a sweet, nice looking person. So tell us how you got into murder.
That's what I always read. And so that would be natural what I would do. I tried writing just plain sweet romances, but it was very hard to get them together. It's much easier to kill them. So, but I started writing. Only reason I was 35 before I started writing, and that was only because I couldn't sleep at night. And this man, one night I'm laying there with my eyes open and I'm staring at the ceiling, and all of a sudden this man pops in my vision, and in the background you can see smokestacks. He's standing at a window, and you see these black smokestacks, billowing black smoke. And then he turns and he looks at me and he says, I never meant for my life to turn out this way. That was the first time that I ever in my life had a story come to me. I mean, I never thought about writing. Yeah. I was always a reader. I read every book I could get my hands on. And if I had been able to sleep, I probably wouldn't be writing today.
Right. Wow. So did you end up writing that story?
Not yet. I told the stories, but by the time I was ready, I had to learn the craft to a degree. And so I started out with short stories, and I noticed Woman's World had guidelines, and this was back before they were a national, and it said 2,500 words. So of course I sent 4,500 words.
Right.
But the editor loved the story and she cut it. I mean, then that was what I would say a God thing. I mean, most of the time you get that if you spend twice what they want, usually they send it back by return mail.
Yeah.
So there was just something in that, but I think that was meant as an encouragement to me to keep going. It was the very first thing I ever wrote.
Wow.
So it just amazed me. And then looking back, after all the years since then, it really amazes me that she bought that story.
Wow. And then you kept writing for them for a little while?
I did. It was several years in between because, short story ideas are really difficult for me. I mean, you get big ideas, but to be able to write, I mean, at this point it's 2,000 words and then it's 1,500 words, and it's very hard to tell a story. But I did learn that writing short stories told me how to make every word count. And even now, I'm probably what they would call a lean writer. I don't give a lot of descriptions. I give enough for the settings that you know where it is, and I bring in things, but I'm not eloquent, I will say that.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, as a reader, I will say that I quite enjoyed it. So I just read your brand new book, Justice, make sure I have the right title, Justice Betrayed, because this is the third Justice book, right?
Right.
Okay. So I was reading it, and I have to say that I loved that there wasn't too much description that I didn't feel I needed, because then it makes the pace just feel faster.
It does. And then too, I mean, when I read, I have my own, I mean, if I know where it is, then I know what it looks like. And then, but if I don't know where it is, I want just enough to give me a flavor of the town or the city or the setting. But then I want to take it and make it my own. Right. And I think that's what most readers want to do.
Yeah.
Same with characters. I give enough of a description, and thankfully they did not put this on the cover, there are not people.
Right.
And because I think people get their own idea of what they want people to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. When I do my romance covers, sometimes I'm just thinking there's got to be another way to do this besides to have the people on. But then I'll be like, okay, well, you know what? In my mind, I sort of have an idea of who the people in my next book kind of look like. But just for a minute, I'm just going to go look and find a photo I actually like, and I'll just make them look like that.
Well, that actually, I write in Scrivener. So I have over on the left-hand side, I have a photo of my character.
Yeah.
So, that way, because I do go find an actress or even a catalog person who looks like, but a lot of times an actress, then you can go and see a clip and you can see their actions, and it just kind of helps solidify that character in your mind.
Yeah, yeah. I've got the fellow who played he was kind of the main character, I guess, in, oh boy, what's that motorcycle drama my husband likes so much, Sons of Anarchy. That really cute guy, Charlie Hunnam or something like that. I have a picture of him smiling and not looking scary as one of my characters. And I have Angie Harmon because she's just adorable.
He is.
So yeah, it's fun when you can help yourself to
to get your own visual.
Yeah,
because it kind of fits the photographs. I find fit their personalities.
Yeah,
so that helps you to remember kind of. If they're snarky, then you need to, but they can't be too snarky. Most of the time, my editor makes me go back and make my heroine more likable because I write independent women characters, and a lot of times I make them just a little bit too independent, maybe a little too snarky.
Well, I really liked the woman in this story. Now, is it the same for this particular series? This is the Memphis Cold Case series. Is it the same group of police officers who are solving all these cases?
Actually, these are. I will take a character from one book and make the next book theirs, and then I'll bring in a new character. Rachel was in Justice Buried, the one set at the Pink Palace, and Boone was in there on just a sentence or two about him, but Rachel was in it quite a bit, so I just brought her on over and gave her story, or rather she demanded it.
Yeah. And that's another thing as a reader that I quite liked is that by the time I got to the second or third reference of, is it the Pink Palace? That's what you said?
Right.
Then I was like, okay, this must have happened in book 1 or 2. I'm going to have to read about it.
The Pink Palace is a museum now. The man who started the Piggly Wiggly stores built it. And then before he ever finished it, it went bankrupt and it defaulted to the city. And they made a museum out of it. And growing up, I spent Sundays there.
Yeah.
Just roaming at that point, you could roam the halls now. Well, you can again now, but then you go to school and you have to go single file, it's like, I've been here. Now I know where I want to go.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your process. Our listeners are probably beginning and intermediate. I'm not sure exactly where people are in their career, but let's just say somebody's thinking, I'd like to write a murder mystery are your books classified as mystery? Is that the right genre?
They're romantic suspense, which falls into the mystery. There is always a mystery, but also the characters, and usually the female she's in jeopardy.
Okay.
So, and I'm starting a new book right now that will be set in Natchez, Mississippi. And I've only been there 4 hours and I'm going back, but I think the first thing I have to have is the crime. And that's usually how my stories when I'm starting to write, I have to know who's going to die and why they're going to die. and I mull that around for a little while, and then the characters begin to talk to me. And so I have to find out what their character arc is going to be. That's one thing I have to know. And but also, and since it is romantic suspense, I have to know why they should be together and why not they should be together. If I don't think I've started a story where they were together, and I had to say, well, why shouldn't they be together and tear them apart? But most of the time they are have just met, or they've known each other in the past.
Okay.
So most of my books do not end in a proposal, because my books happen over a 4-day period a lot of times.
Right. Yeah.
So
Maybe
it's kind of
too early.
Yeah, but I usually give a promise of I always give a promise of a happily ever after.
Right. Yeah, I like that in this book where things happen at the end that you're like, okay, that's totally believable. It wouldn't have been believable if you had done it a different way, but your choices, you were like, yeah, I totally get that. I'm happy. I'm a happy reader now.
Yeah, if they've known each other in the past, which Rachel did, but it's still, they did not have enough past for it to be, they need more time together.
Yeah.
Before they make a commitment. And I think we really have to be careful, right, as writers of that, because very few times do people meet and 4 days later they're asking someone to marry them.
That's right. I think I know one person who, my friend's cousin's uncle, I don't know, something like that, who went on one of those widowers cruises, for 60s and 70-year-olds, and proposed at the end of the 7-day period. And everybody was like,
oh, wow.
What? That really happened?
Thing is, you don't know somebody. He could be a psychopath.
Right.
Sorry.
But see, isn't that what we like to think about as writers? What if what?
What if, yeah.
So when you start with the crime, do you look for headlines, or how do you choose what you might work on as the problem? I ask because this last book, I mean, I don't know if I've read your other books, but this one's fresh on my mind because I just finished it a couple of days ago. And I was really impressed with how complex the intricacies, woven together were.
When I signed the contract for the Memphis series, I knew that one of the books had to be an Elvis book, a tribute to Elvis. I mean, I grew up there. I never met him. I never went to Graceland, but I do have a picture of me when I was very young, standing in front of his house, the very first house he bought for his parents. I mean, Elvis was he was our hometown boy, even though he wasn't born there, but he went to school there and he grew up. And so it was, I don't know, I just knew that. And so I can't kill Elvis, but how about if Elvis impersonators start showing up dead, or someone trying to murder them? And the story really wasn't working for me until I went back because of Shirley, who is the psychopath. Right. I don't know. I had a real hard time getting in her head, mainly because I didn't really want to go that dark. And so but the story just said 40,000 words. It's like I hit a wall, and I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? And I realized I really didn't know Shirley. I didn't know how she thought. So then I began to research. I have a couple of psychologists, psychiatrist friends, and I talked to them. I did a lot of research online, and I came over upon an interview with a doctor, and it's actually part of it's in the book. And how do you know to know if you think like a psychopath?
Oh,
and there's this little quiz, and I put it in the book because it's like, okay, how do you know how would you know if you think like a psychopath? So when I'll ask people that, and I say, well, how? And I say, well, it's the way you answer this question. You're at your mother's funeral, and you meet this really good-looking guy, and he takes your number and says, I'll call you. Well, a week goes by, and he doesn't call you, so you kill your sister. Why did you kill your sister? And so people look at me, and they'll say, because she's dating? No. And so that's not why a psychopath would. And they finally give up, and I say, well, so she can see him again. He'll come to the funeral. And but that told me it's all about them.
Yeah.
A psychopath is very narcissistic, and everything revolves around. And once I had that in my head, I was able, and that's when I did the scene where she goes to her aunt to steal the insulin to kill another guy, Elvis impersonator.
Right.
And she thinks about killing her aunt, but then decides not to because it would be inconvenient to her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that to me, that showed I was able to show, because it's some of the things she did, normal people wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So I needed to set up why she did the things she did.
Yeah.
And it was because it all revolved around her, and she thought she was smarter than anyone else.
Right.
I mean, she really thought she was. I mean, she'd already gotten away with other murders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I really was impressed, and I'm going to be careful not to say too much because
yeah,
I was very.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I was very happy to get to the last couple of chapters, and I had narrowed it down to 2 people. And I was thrilled that I picked the wrong one, because it's always nice when you're not smarter than the story.
Actually, it almost was the one I'm sure you were going to pick.
Yeah.
And I had a very good reason for her being the one. And actually, when the book started out, she was the one.
Oh.
And but then right away, I decided that I couldn't do that.
Yeah. This was a really fun book to read. I really enjoyed it.
It was fun to write. After I hit the wall, it was fun.
Right. Well, if you don't mind, can we talk a little bit more about the problems that you encounter in a draft? I think that might be helpful for listeners. One of the things that I have not heard very many authors be able to articulate well, and perhaps it's just something that isn't easy to articulate, and we'll just leave it. Mm-hmm. But the whole idea of red herrings, or trying to make it that the reader isn't guessing until at least the last chapter, the correct person, but without leading them astray and making them angry with the way that you did it. Do you have any methods that you try to stick to yourself? Or
I think that for me, it comes naturally because I don't outline. I do go through James Scott Bell's superstructure with the signpost.
Yeah,
I do that, and but I don't always know who did it. A couple of my books, I have gotten to the reveal, especially the one I'm thinking about is Gone Without a Trace. Let's see, no, Promise to Protect. I was writing the reveal chapter, and I got halfway down the page, and I said, this isn't working. And I had to go back and beef up the villain was in there. Yeah. But I had to beef up his part so that it was logical. And I always want there, if you almost I always try to make it where you can guess the villain. Yeah. Because there needs to be enough clues that are hidden that the reader can go back, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So wow, I'm even more impressed that you're not a plotter and you write mysteries. That's amazing.
I will plot a little bit of ahead, like after cat, quit, you're chewing my thing. I will plot after we get through, I've got 5,000 words on the new book, and I'm almost 6,000, and I'm going to the end of the first act. My first acts are usually very short, and the middle is more, and then the ending. But and I'm going to plot out what happens next, and that's what I do. I will sit and I will figure out. I will write to a certain point and think, okay, well, what we're going to do now?
Yeah.
So I will plot out a few chapters ahead. And like I said, and I also I'm writing to James Scott Bell's signpost that he has, which that's an awesome book.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that one or not. I interviewed Jim about his Writing from the Middle book.
Right. Well, this one it's more. It has the middle in there. Mm-hmm. And I have that one as well, but There it is.
Oh, go Jim.
Yeah, go Jim. So that's what I'm going to, I get it out and I look again at a signpost. I actually have a folder in Scrivener that has the signposts, and that's where I usually go and figure out where I'm going next.
All right. Well, that is really interesting. I have to say, I don't see myself necessarily writing any mysteries, but I like putting mystery elements in my stories.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't always want the villain to be perfectly obvious from page one. But I haven't heard anybody articulate in a way that I felt like I could try writing something because I didn't understand how they were pulling things together. But now I'm thinking about what you said. I don't know if this is what you're doing, but it's making me think, oh, I could try this. And I'm just verbalizing my thoughts in case somebody listening is like, oh, yeah, that's what I was wondering. But I was just thinking, so maybe what you do is you're writing the scene about the psychopath or the murderer or whoever it is. And you're not writing their name, you're just writing the scene with them. And so that's how you don't know necessarily who it is?
Yeah, that's right. That's what especially with, and Silence in the Dark was the same way. Not Silence in the Dark, Justice Delayed. It was the same way. I was writing, and I have the person who possibly, my books have a lot of characters, which if you've got red herrings, you have to have enough characters for people to think it could be this one or it could be that one.
Right.
And so as I'm writing along on Justice Delayed, and all of a sudden I write who did the actual murder. And I said, "Oh, you're the one." but all along, I was writing the scenes. I just didn't name them.
Right.
And that way it can be a surprise.
Yeah. And the way that, at least, for sure in Justice Betrayed, the one that I've read, I really loved how you kind of wove things together where you're like, oh, okay, that's why you didn't know, but then it totally makes sense when you find out, and it makes sense that she made that decision and did that thing. And then you're like, oh yeah, wow, that's a good one. Definitely makes her scarier because without saying I'm not going to say why, makes it scarier.
Yeah. I'm thinking that too. And I do try to write 3-dimensional villains that, especially when you don't know who they are, they need to be personable on the page. The character we all have these criminal intentions inside us. To a degree, most of us don't act on them. In doing my research, I read a lot of people, there are a lot of psychopaths out there, psychopaths and sociopaths who do not commit murder.
Wow.
They can be aggressive business people, or just, they have the tendencies. They don't have a lot of empathy for people.
Yeah.
But these things enable them to get ahead in life.
Interesting.
And I learned that not all narcissists are psychopaths or sociopaths, but all sociopaths and psychopaths are narcissists.
Oh,
because it's all about them.
Yeah. I have to admit, one of the things that has kept me away from doing more research so that I could write something believable is that the books that my friends are reading, The Psychopath Next Door or whatever, I'm like, okay, I would never sleep again if I was reading 3 or 4 of these books.
I actually know a couple of, I'll usually call them narcissists, but I still think, given the right circumstances, they could be.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I have to say, just as a writing exercise, you're really making me want to just go write some and also make sure that I murder somebody and start to feel a little bit better about,
Well, like I said, it's much easier for me to kill them off than to get them together.
Yeah. So do you think that I think that you said before we started recording that you are currently also writing for Harlequin as well?
No, I did write. I wrote 2 heartwarming books for them.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason I did not write anymore is they wouldn't let me have a body.
Oh, you know
So
what? That's how I know your name. I think I've read maybe one or
yeah,
both of those. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love heartwarming. That is a sweet romance, and if it's just not my thing. I am working on a cozy mystery
Yeah.
set on the Mississippi River in current times on a
Nice.
steamboat, a paddle boat. I,
Wow.
I'm after I finish the book I'm working on now, and before I start the next one for Revel, it's outlined. This is one of the few books I have outlined, and I'm gonna write it because
Nice.
I like the mystery aspect, and I like the lighter. A cozy has a more conversational and not so intense. I think I would like just for one book anyway to kind of be a little more laid back, a little bit everything not be so intense.
Right, right. Not necessarily have people about to be murdered everywhere all
Right,
at
all the
once.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say that I have an idea that I'm just going to have to write it sometime because,
Yeah.
for one thing, I've got a whole bunch of people now asking me about it. When we lived in New Zealand last year, I went to this fabulous church, and they had this wonderful women's group that met every week. And I got to know these just really fabulous, funny, so funny. These women were so funny, and also like delightfully faith-filled too. And I just really connected with them on multiple levels. But it was really interesting when we would occasionally have time to go out to lunch together or something, and we would come up with these ridiculous ideas. And I'm like, if anybody knew we were a bunch of church ladies making up this stuff. And I came up with this murder mystery idea where we find a dead body, and one of them's husband works for the government and one of them's high up in the police force, which is actually true. I'm like, you guys, I can't use real events and real people, but
Oh, yes, you can.
I
But
might
you
have to. Yeah.
I was sitting in a restaurant with a police detective from Memphis one time discussing how people get away with murder,
Oh.
and the people on either side of us with this look.
Right.
And another time I was at a restaurant with a writer friend, and we were plotting we were working on, she had hit the wall, and we were trying to work through that, and we were finishing up, and there was a little window right above where we sat, and that divided where we sat with the other dining room. And she came and stuck her head in the window, and she said, "I know y'all must be writers, because nothing like that would happen in this town." We didn't even realize we were talking that loud.
Oh, that's awesome. I have heard people, I've only heard third and fourth hand accounts, but do you ever wonder if you might get a visit by the FBI for the sorts of things you Google?
I tell you, I bet they have. With what I research gun running, I research blowing up cars, I research how to make bombs, poison. Yeah, I figure they've got a dossier on me. If they're checking my search tabs, yep.
Yeah. Now, there's an interesting story. Can someone who looks as sweet and nice as you actually, be hiding hidden, psychopathic, sociopathic tendencies? And then the government investigates.
Yeah, that's a good one. I may have to go there.
Oh, wow. This is fun. Now, tell me, I think that I have this right. We are recording 2 days before the interview goes live. So everybody will be listening to this on Thursday, the 7th. But you and I are talking on Tuesday, June 5th. And isn't today release day for you?
Today is release day. I was just writing a newsletter to send out. I had forgotten that. Because there are quite a few giveaways. I'm giving away. I'm on quite a few blogs. I'm on the Suspense Sisters and How to Write a Novel with Susan May Warren and Rachel Hawk. And I have my own mystery blog. I have a mystery question every Tuesday. And there are 4 scenarios that 3 of them are true and 1's false. And my readers get to guess which one is the one I made up. And
wow,
this week it's on, a lot of times it's just stupid criminals. A lot of times it is an actual crime. But this week it's on criminals who want to be caught. And the dumb things that, and what amazes me is that 3 of these things criminals have actually done. So it's it just amazes me how stupid people can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And how they do keep from getting caught.
Yeah. The first time I heard about the Darwin Awards, stupid people who do stupid things and end up dying, I was like, at first I was really offended that somebody was making light of people dying, but then I would read them and I'm like, I understand why people are writing about it.
Yeah, most of my stupid criminal ones, no one dies. But now sometimes I find an old crime. In fact, I have a book with a lot of with crimes in it that I will take one of them and break it down, and there will be part of the crime that I made up, and the rest of it is actually true. And a lot of times I'll see if I'll leave it for them to try to solve the crime. How did the police solve this?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun doing that. It takes a little bit of time, but I seem to be growing readership on my blog from that.
That's fabulous. Yeah, it does seem like, like I said, I was really impressed with how complex Justice Betrayed was, and all the pieces, a lot of pieces from a lot of years interwoven together, and just a regular size, not 2,000 pages or anything. And where was I going with that thought?
Mystery questions.
But so there's a lot of stuff that people can get off your blog just as readers who are interested, or probably it would be helpful to budding mystery writers as well, just to read.
Occasionally I do blogs on writing. I do them on let's see, it's How to Write a Novel. Susan May Warren. You go to Susan May Warren's website, and she has a blog, and I appear there once a month on there. And then sometimes on Suspense Sisters I talk about writing, and sometimes on my blog I used to talk on my blog a lot about writing, but I have a lot of just readers now there, so I'm not talking as much about writing there. And on Friday I have what I call Reader Friday, and I review a book.
Oh, okay.
And it's just one I've read, and then at the end of the month I give away a book out of my library. My person, and then sometimes I give one of mine away. It's just different things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to reduce my books.
Right.
I have quite a few.
Yeah. If I weren't moving around so much, my library would be vast.
Aren't the tablets wonderful?
I'm so happy. Books. Yeah. This is probably one of my best birthdays ever. I had a big birthday this year. I had my 50th. So
I won't tell you how old I am.
52.
How about that? 21.
So it was fun that people kind of spoil you more, if it's a big day. I got so many Amazon gift cards, or I would tell people the actual ebooks that I wanted, knowing that I was going to be moving to Sweden within a few weeks. And oh my gosh, it was so great. I would wake up on my birthday and there's all these emails about these fabulous books that now are on my Kindle.
Yes. Oh,
I love to read.
I do too. I always have.
Do you
I even read now while I'm writing.
Yeah.
The way I unwind at night.
Yeah, me too. Now, I know a lot of writers have strong opinions about whether they do or don't read in their genre while they're actually in the first draft making it up phase, so they don't accidentally pull something from someplace else. What's your process? How do you?
It just depends. I don't really have a problem with that because my books are a little different from some of what I read. I read a lot of cozies, and a lot of times I can see a technique that a writer uses that, it's okay to steal a technique, but not the idea,
Right.
You see how they actually do it. So I've really never had a problem with that. I write in my own voice, and I think you could tell if I was borrowing someone else's.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's what my earlier thought was about, is that it seems like with the kinds of stories that you have, you probably do a lot of research.
I do a lot of research. Right now, well, I'm having to research Natchez a lot because I didn't grow up there like I did with all my other books. And I'm researching, one character, his father is the second secretary to the ambassador of London in London.
Wow.
And so I had to research that, and because I didn't really want the dad there, but I didn't want him dead because you write so many orphan stories, no
Yeah.
parent. So I just wanted him out, the mother and daddy out picture, because I have the grandmother. He's involved with his grandmother, and plus it's that's part of his character arc. The hero's character arc is his relationship with his dad.
Okay.
But I've had to research, how do you get to be that?
Yeah.
And I'm always researching how to kill somebody. I have a book on poisons.
I was just going to say, I have this great book on poisons. We probably own the same book. Yeah.
Yeah. And guns. In fact, but now I also belong to crime scene writers. Awesome site. They will answer any question that you have.
Okay, good to know. I will put a note for the people who go to the show notes. I'll make a link.
It's I can send it to you. It's crime scene writers, and Lee Laughlin's there. It's actually have you been? I went to the police academy, the novelist police academy, writers police academy once. I want to go back.
Wow.
And, but there are several coroners there, and it's just a really neat site.
Wow. My friend Janice Cantori writes romantic suspense for Tyndale, and she was telling me, of course, she used to be a police officer, but she was talking about the Novelist Police Academy or Writers Police. Yeah, whatever.
It's Writers Police Academy. Yeah. I went when it was in South Carolina, I think, North or South Carolina. It's one of the Carolinas.
Wow.
And it was really neat. It was I learned a lot and got to meet some really nice people. I think Carrie Stewart Parks is going to be there this year, and I would give anything to go. But she's also going to be at ACFW, American Christian Fiction Writers Conference.
Cool.
So I'll get to connect with her there. She's also teaching a coffin class on forensic artist that I'm taking this. And that, you have to keep learning.
Yeah.
I take a lot of classes.
It's good to hear that because sometimes people, let's say maybe my husband, he's like, have you finished taking classes yet? I'm like, no, not really.
No. Alicia Rasley has she has some really good classes, but her website is real good. And I've done one on emotions with her, and one on characters. Conflict, conflict motivation.
Oh, conflict, goal, motivation.
Yeah. GMC.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Goal, motivation, conflict. There we go.
Yeah. And it really helps. It's a refresher. It reminds you of what you're supposed to be, because a lot of times you'll get caught up in your own writing and you'll forget, I need to tell, and that's what had happened with Shirley. I really didn't know why she did what she did.
Yeah.
So much. And I had not even written the opening scene when I hit 40,000 words. And that's when I went back and wrote that opening scene with her.
Oh, wow. That was really, it's not until later that you realize that it's chilling rather than, because I was totally on her side. I'm like, absolutely, you poor thing. Yeah. And then later I was like, okay, maybe you might be overreacting now.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Oh, Patricia, this has been so much fun.
Oh, it's fun.
And so many great ideas that, I and my listeners can try ourselves. So thanks for that.
Thanks. It's been fun. I can sit down and talk writing anytime.
Well, we may have to do that again. So the book you're working on now, will that come out next year or the year after that?
Year after that. The book that'll come out next year is on human trafficking. It's probably the hardest one I've written. And it's written, the heroine was actually trafficked for 8 years. Oh. And it was hard. I worked with an organization in Mississippi called Advocates for Freedom, and we're trying to get a house to house women who have been rescued, because, especially teenagers, because you can't mainstream them because they have been through too much. and that you can't put them with teenagers who haven't. It's just, and the part, most of them have been on drugs, and a lot of them go back to what they were in because it's what they don't want to, but it's what they know.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that I think this was, but a lady came to our church that I'm working with now, and I had no idea about human trafficking until she came, and it was like that's when the idea for the book came, and I knew I had to write it.
Yeah.
And I think it's, I'm glad I did. We didn't talk about Erin in the book.
Erin.
She's the little. She is. Yeah.
Oh, she'll be in the next book.
No, she's not, but she is an actual person.
Oh, well, tell us a little bit about her.
Okay. I had no idea why I put a mentally challenged person in the book. It was just like, it came naturally, organically, they say. And then I was talking to my friend. I have a friend whose daughter was, I knew that she was had problems. And so I emailed her, and when I told her that I was putting a girl, and I hadn't even named her, well, her daughter's name is Erin. And we talked, and Erin, her brother is brilliant. And she was relating to me how one time she said, "Mama, why am I not special? I mean, why can't I do things?" And it was like, well, this will make her special. So I don't know. It just, I knew then why I put her in. It was just, that was another God thing.
Yeah.
So
she knows she's in a book.
She knows she's in a book, and she's actually going to get to read it. She reads, and she's going to get to, or her mother will read it to her. But her mama's going to buy her that necklace, that guitar piece. Yeah, she's going to find one and get it for her.
Oh, that is so sweet! I love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I think RT, the review on RT talked about how she was a real person, seemed like a real person.
Yeah.
That made me cry. So that was good. I think it was the best review I ever got.
Oh, yeah. That was another thing that, in fact, she seemed so realistic to me that I didn't even think about her as being a character that might not normally be in a book, having someone who has mental challenges.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, she just seemed totally exactly what.
And the real Erin she loves shoes and jewelry.
Nice.
So she will recognize herself.
That's awesome. She's going to love it.
Yeah, I think so. And she can't wait to tell her brother.
Yeah, that's right.
But they were, because so many negative things have happened, they don't want to tell him they didn't want to tell him until the book actually came out, because something could happen.
Right. So. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Well, listen, where can people find you? You've mentioned a lot of blogs, and I'm going to try to find them all and link to them as.
I will send you the links.
Oh, thank you.
So,
in general, how about you and your books personally?
I'm on ptbradley.com, and on the blog you'll find a page for my books, and the PT Bradley's // will take you to. I write 2 blogs a week, and I've been doing that. At first I was sporadic, but now I do it every week. I have 2 blogs.
Wow.
And I give away a book. I give away 2 books a month, sometimes more if I'm really wanting to move some books out of my library.
Yeah.
And sometimes I give away a gift card.
Yeah.
But and people get to guess of what the crime is. That's what answer it is. I mean, it doesn't count if you're wrong. If you just leave a comment, you get entered in the contest.
Oh, well, that works even better.
So I'm also on the Suspense Sisters, and trying to think. Oh, Heartwarming. I'm on the Heartwarming blog. I do a blog there once a month.
Wonderful. Wow. I have to say, I'm very impressed about all of your blogging and still getting your books done on time.
Sometimes, it's most of the time it's one a month. I do, except for mine, all the others are usually one a month.
Yeah.
Which usually you can do that. I mean, it's a matter of that you decide you have to.
Yeah, that's true. It's just part of your calendar.
Yeah. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. Well, this has been great fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it has. I've enjoyed it.